Right, morning everybody, welcome. So day 4, I think we are, in terms of dissecting Trevor's 8-line little poem. And this morning we are going to be looking at glide, glide, glide upon the winds, look, look, look from afar. And if we get further than that, we might travel a bit further down the road. But I think what I'm going to ask is that Ed kicks us off this morning, and maybe for those who haven't been around, Ed, maybe you'd like to just step back a little bit and give some of your thoughts on the first three lines, and then lead us into where we are now. I think that would be great if you don't mind.
Yeah, I thought the whole poem, when I first saw it, was really, really powerful, and it just grabbed me. And actually, at the weekend, I showed it to my writing group, and they had all the same opinion. It was a very strong piece of writing, very powerful piece of writing. And I think it works very well because of using the power of 3. It's very much a well-used thing in speaking. If you think about the various talks you've ever heard, 3 is always used as a powerful thing. But I think also 3 leaves the sort of possibilities open. If you have 2, it's a pair, it's closed off. If you have 4, it's 2 pairs, it's closed off, but with the 3. So I think that construction using the 3 worked very well. And I thought that actually the whole, and we can come back to some of the other stuff, but I thought the real power around the construction of the poem comes from these 2 lines, because with the first ones, we were swept up. First of all, we rose and then we soared. So we're sort of swept along quite fast. And then Trevor told us where we were. We were high, high, high. And then rather than moving us on from there to the next piece of action, we've got a pause now. A bit like, well, and it's kind of effortless because we're gliding. And it's a bit like, you know, when someone announces those awards and they say, and the winner is, and they have that long pause. That's what Trevor's giving us now, is that long pause before we move into the next bit. And I think, you know, we're effortlessly gliding and upon the winds. And it's interesting that Trevor used winds rather than wind, because I think using the plural gives us some extra space and extra dimension. And perhaps we sort of think in our mind of the 4 winds and the 4 corners of the world, and therefore expands our thinking by looking in all directions. And then gliding means we're supported and using the wind to move about. It doesn't mean we're being blown about by the wind, just tossed here and there wherever the wind wants to take us. We're actually using the wind to glide, and it's supporting us. And for me, that sort of also brought to mind that song, Wind Beneath My Wings, and the fact that very often we reach high places with the help of others, maybe with our help of our wife or our husband, maybe a partner, a sponsor, a coach. So yeah, the wind supporting us, and that other people are involved in us reaching the heights. And then we're still held there because Trevor says, rather than anything else, says, look, look, look. And look from afar. And we've moved from our original position so we can see different things and we can look at different things. And he says, look, look, look. And I think, you know, to me, there springs to mind that saying, there are none so blind as those that will not see. And Trevor's entreating us to look, look, look. And we're not being asked to pick things out. We're not being asked to concentrate on something. And in fact, we're almost being asked to avoid not seeing the gorilla on the basketball court. And I think Ivan played a clip of that video a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so. So it's just looking, it's actively looking, but not selecting, not not looking through a lens, not picking things out, but just looking. And then, we're not judging or deciding. And it's only when you're moving about, gliding about, that you see things that would otherwise not have noticed or would have been hidden. You're looking from a different perspective. And it's only, I think, when you remove yourself from the noise, from the crowds, and they were the items in the first part of the poem, that you can sort of have a new perspective, and you can look around you and you be ready to plan. And I think, in the new COVID world, the world's changed so much. We can't see what's changed from a static position. We can't see what's changed from the ground. We have to soar on high, look around us, study the whole landscape, see what's changed by COVID. And I think the changes are quite profound. They've changed people, they've changed the economics. So look, and then he's holding us there, just waiting for the next bit. So that's why I say those two lines are the real power of the poem, because it's that action, long pause, and then we're ready for the next action. I hope that kind of makes some sort of sense.
Great, thanks, Ed. Yeah, I think it was a great summary, and hopefully it's got those of us who haven't been on every session up to speed, and give you some additional insights into where we've been going in these last 3 or 4 days. So I think we'll go across to Cecile this morning first. Cecile, are you still flapping your wings? Or are you managing to glide a little bit? Looks like Cecile might still be flapping her wings. So all right. Okay, so we'll skip past Cecile for the moment. So Trevor Carty, are you with us? Are you managing to hear what's going on now? You sorted out your sound?
Well, I can hear you guys. I don't know if you can hear me. So
yeah, we got you loud and clear.
Okay, good. Yeah, I only have one word to say following Ed, and the word is ditto.
Is that the depth of it, Trevor?
Sometimes you just got to be mindful of what you're still processing from the last speaker, and I think Ed has made this his study for the next time he does his Kalahari marathon. But yeah, so gliding is exactly that. It's the graceful part of doing the work. The effort's been done, and the winds are actually what are doing the work. But you still have to be able to read and interpret the winds. So as much time and effort as it takes to build the machine that you glide on, you then have to really be skilled in navigating those winds, because get that wrong, it doesn't matter how good that effortlessness is. If that wind turns your little machine upside down, well, then it's gone.
Great, thanks, Trevor. Yeah, right. Jasper, let's get across to you next.
Morning. I tend to concur with Trevor, and that is Ed did such a good job that one can almost just say ditto, because anything else we now say is trying to almost add something to what has already been said. But the only thing that I can add to the whole thing of wind is that wind has a dual nature, because we've all seen scenes where a very strong wind uproot trees and destroy roofs, and even people get killed in a strong wind. But that same wind is then used with the right skill, and the eagle didn't just one day manage to do it. There was some preparation for that little baby eaglet to learn how to glide and use his feathers and everything to make use of the energy. And wind as a energy source is unseen. You can't look up in the sky and see the wind. You only see the effect of the wind. So it's that whole thing to see what is that we don't see? We see the effect of it, and then try and make sense out of it. How can I use that as an energy source? And so we feel it when you are in the presence of a strong wind. You feel it, but you can't see it until you feel it. So it's that kind of a dichotomy, that dual nature that one can maybe expand upon. And then the word look versus see. How many people are looking around them, but are they actually seeing? So it's that thing that, you know, your ability to see is helping you to, on the one hand, see where you need to go, but also to see obstacles in your way that you need to avoid. So, so I'm just putting a play on the word look versus see. And then it came up in me that a big part of this poem is also resonating with a simple instruction that Jesus gave to his disciples way back when he just said, ask and keep on asking, seek and keep on seeking, knock and keep on knocking. And it's like, you know, that's going to be life. You never finish with the journey. And that eagle every day has to get up there out in the clouds and do his thing. And we on a daily basis have to get out there and see what's happening around us and then work with what is being given us to move forward. Because the fact that we open up our eyes for another day means there's some more to be done and more provisions to be had and for us to look and see. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Jasper. Right, Mpumelelo, you're in the hot seat. You've heard the Ed's synopsis. You've heard Trevor and Jasper. So let's hear what you interpret so far and what you've read, if you know, out of Trevor's poem.
Yeah, good morning to everyone. It's good to see you guys again. There's a lot of having gone back to gym. I'm trying to get rid of the 7 kilograms I gained while it was shut down. So it happens mostly, my classes mostly happen at 8 o'clock. But anyway, I guess just taking from different people, this has a lot to do with an eagle and flying and how it makes use of the wind, and as well as how it pays attention to the area over which it's flying. Am I understanding this well?
I think that's been some of the interpretations, yes. But I mean, the poem itself, have you managed to read the poem or not?
No, I haven't.
No,
I haven't read it. No.
Yeah, well, and
is it?
It's in the chat. I don't know if you can see it in the chat at the top there. Have you got it?
Okay. I'm at the chat, so maybe you can have one person, then you can come back to me.
All right. Well, let me just I can read it quickly out. It's very short. So the title is Crisis, Chaos, Connect the Dots, and then the poem starts: rise, rise, rise above the noise, soar, soar, soar like an eagle, high, high, high beyond the crowds, glide, glide, glide upon the winds. Look, look, look from afar. Think, think, think for yourself. Focus, focus, focus on the dot. Strike, strike, strike when it's right.
Okay. Yeah, all right. No, it's great indeed. I guess from just having read it now, my interpretation or what comes to mind is that you'll forgive me, it's just a line that's coming from scripture that says, enter by the narrow gate, because wide and open is the gate or the road that leads to destruction. And why I'm thinking that is that as I'm reading or going through this poem with you now, Ivan, it says to me, you know, to get to the things that are critical, that are good, to be able to rise above the noise, to be able to fly higher than everybody, to go beyond the crowds, takes doing those things that are not everyone is doing because they are difficult to do. It takes putting the effort that not everybody is putting in. So at the same time, it's also saying that there's no there's no laziness that that can fit in here. You have to take the high road. You have to take the difficult road. You have to do the things that very few people are willing to do and sacrifice to reach this high, this rising above this noise, this going beyond the crowds. So there's a detail to it. There's a paying attention. There's a not just allowing the mind to think the way it has thought, the same thought patterns. So what it says to me is new, important, great effort that needs to be put in to do better, to be better, and to access new opportunities that are being brought about by the change of the winds, if I may put it like that. Yeah, I feel poetic all of a sudden. That's because of you, Trevor? I didn't think I'm a poetic, but there it is.
I think sometimes you do wax lyrical, Mpulelo, but whether it's poetic or not, I'm not too sure, but it can be. But you see, you can't just exercise the body, you've got to exercise the mind as well. We've got to get you wound up again and get you going. So it's good to have you back. Right, Vinay, let's get across to you next.
Hi. Edward, what a wonderful synopsis of that poem. It really broke it down really, really well. And very much in line with what I'm thinking is the first 3 lines are a real, almost a struggle to get to a certain point. But once you reach there, my interpretation is that you need to just pause for a minute. You can't just keep going. You need to just step back and perhaps acknowledge what you've done to date, acknowledge that you have achieved something, you have got to that point, and then pause and just allow yourself to regroup. And once you've done that, then actually take a look at the big picture and see what have you achieved. And I know it's cheating a little bit to go to the next lines of the poem, but to actually pause and say, what have you achieved and what is it that you actually want to do next? Is it the same thing or is it something that you're going to strike? And I found the poem incredibly powerful, very simple, but also the cadence is just, it really is so easy to understand it. And that's basically my interpretation of it.
Great, thanks.
And thank you for that. Thank you for the inspiration, Trevor.
Great, thanks for that, Vinay. And yeah, I think you brought some nice additional elements in there. And just for Mpumelelo and Vinay, we did the first 3 lines sort of one day at a time, but we sort of decided to pick up the pace a little bit on the last four lines, so it's no problem going into the next one at all. So yeah, thanks. And I think that was a great different angle that we haven't actually perhaps had to date. So thank you for that. Right, Donovan, let's get across to you.
Thanks, Alan. Morning, everyone. Yes, I would like to base my comment directly on the gliding part, or using the power of the wind to float on it, to basically harness the power of the wind. So you've got 2 choices. One is just to relax and to just laze around. And the other one is to use that opportunity to excel even more, or to go even further, to go even higher. So the choice is yours what to do with the wind. You can benefit by lazing around, or you can benefit even more by excelling and exceeding all the expectations. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Donovan. Right, yeah, I mean, for me, I think, Vinay touched on a couple of elements, as did everybody for me, but, I think one of the challenges we often face in our day-to-day sort of lives and activities is the hustle and the bustle and the clutter, and that prevents us from actually getting that perspective, that getting up there and gliding, taking time to step back, to actually explore a much wider view of what's actually happening around us, and in our businesses and in our lives. and to actually try and, as I say, really step back. So look from afar is that, for me, is that stepping back and trying to remove ourselves out of the picture of the hustle and the bustle of what's actually happening, and see if we can really change our perspective. I mean, one of my favorite sayings, and I think I've said it many times on the Wisdom's chats, is, if you want the things you look at to change, then you need to change the way you look at things. And I think that's exactly what this is doing for me. It's getting us to a different point, a different perspective, a different view of what's actually happening around us, and enabling us to actually open up our minds and free our minds from that hustle and bustle and clutter of what's happening at the coalface, and see if we can really, get the things that we're looking at to change, and why do they need to change, and how do they need to change, without being bogged down by the mechanics of what's actually really happening on the ground. So I think that's in essence for me what those two lines really bring out, in the sort of process that we've gone through in the poem so far. So those are my thoughts. So Trevor, now over to you.
Right, trying to unmute myself. I suppose, Vernay and Mpumelelo, you're quite surprised at just how much Ed makes me out to be a deep thinker. So I'm not going to tell you how little thought I put into this thing in the early wee hours of the morning. You'll have to go back and listen to that. Be that as it may, I'm certain that my English teacher, who gave me an E for English, is going to be thrilled at the synopses that have been given. Is that correct? But I don't think my geography teacher, my history teacher, and my maths teacher are going to give me any pats on the back. G for geography, H for history, and M for mathematics. That's why 1, 2, 3 is so important, and the simplicity of what we've been doing here. But thank you. I think I just want to comment. Over the weekend, I was really just taking a view. This gliding, I think, is absolutely imperative as to what we should be doing now with what's going on with this COVID-19 situation. Where are we in South African terms coming into the last weeks of October, and knowing that we've only got about 4, 5, maximum 6 weeks to go before most people shut down, and then we're gone away for another month, maybe a month and a half. That's after we've done nothing over the COVID-19 period, and no one will complain about the 5 to 6 weeks of not doing nothing from December onwards. It's quite interesting to me how all complaints are relative to the quality of the break, whether it's forced or whether it's voluntary. But in surfing the various channels, it appears that the UK, Italy, Europe, South America, the concerns for this COVID-19 right now are elevated to a level that I can't believe. And there are these two contradictory opinions on the go, whether this is a scam or whether this is something you've got to be really concerned about. And I'm watching people here locally. I saw a guy this morning who turned around and said, man, his grandmother of 91 was talking to him about the church that had passed away recently. My wife, just close people working with her, both of them taken into ICU on Thursday. And here we are. I mean, I'm going off to the gym after this. I'll put a little mask on. You know, how serious is this thing, and how serious are we taking it, and what have we got to do? Now, all of that thought and what's going on here is the gliding and thinking for ourselves. And I'm so excited about our potential as a group, what we discovered with this virtual conferencing platform. And so I'm going to just move a little bit on. This striking and seeing the dot over the weekend, I managed to actually summarize everything down to almost, these are the things that we're doing. This is what we're going to do during this particular time period, whether COVID makes a big move or doesn't. We're going to be focusing, me personally, on Wisdom's 1, 2, 3, making it simple for 1 million people to actually get access to this, going out there with our virtual trade fair.global applications. And all I've done in my mind is simplify, simplify, simplify. And I've got to thank Ed for just making me realize how important these simple words are, because that's the essence of what I think we've all got to do now. We've got to simplify what is it that we want to achieve this coming year, and noting what's going on all around the rest of the world. And I think we touched on Senegal and how we had to be above that situation and away from it to actually get an understanding of what's truly happening. And I think what is truly happening in this world right now is around things like this. And the moment we start expanding this to 1,000, to 10,000, to 20,000, and it's happening, you can see it all around the world in little bits like this. Once we start bringing them together, I think we all have a major influence on the right thinking that it's going to take for each individual to do what they want to do. Gee, I didn't think I was going to actually go into that there. So Verne, I don't know what the hell I sat and wrote there in that little thing, but thanks for the compliments. And Pumalelo, my power went off as you started and it came back on as you finished. So I'm going to have to go and re-listen to the words of wisdom that you actually put in there. So, but thank you very much all.
Great, thanks, Trevor. Yeah, so and thanks everybody. I think so. What we're going to do is tomorrow. Let's wrap up the whole thing. So we'll finish off, and perhaps what Trevor suggested there, I think, is a great idea. So look at the entire poem and interpret it in terms of what it's going to mean to you, and how perhaps you can apply some of these elements in your thinking going forward, in your business going forward. And let's just try and bring the whole thing back down to perhaps a personal business level around has this given us some clarity? Has it given us some food for thought, and perhaps even encouraged us to do things in a slightly different way? So I think if that's okay with everybody, let's approach that and wrap it up tomorrow, and then we'll see who else is going to come up with a poem to take us forward, or maybe something else completely different. I don't know. We'll see where the morning takes us tomorrow morning. But other than that, folks, have a fantastic day further, and focus on the dot and strike when it's hot. Have a good one.
Thank you very much. Thank you.